Please welcome Rachel Goor and Noelle Marcus to the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. How's it going? Yeah, that's what we'd like to hear. Well, fantastic. We are delighted to be here with you today. My name is Rachel, here with my wonderful colleague, Noelle, and together we're building Nesterly. Nesterly is a digital community that pairs older householders who have spare space with young people willing to exchange help around the house for cheaper rent. Nesterly offers a new approach to these big challenges that we're facing, many of which you just heard about, including housing affordability, density, displacement, shifting population demographics, and social connectedness. As we're staring down the barrel of increasing land scarcity and rising construction costs, we're leveraging technology to make better use of the housing that's already built. Beautiful technique. Noelle and I met as master's students in the city planning program at MIT. Like any good nerds, we bonded over real estate finance problem sets and our shared interest in devising innovative solutions to the housing affordability crisis. By late last year, we were on the path to building Nesterly. We teamed up to figure out ways to expand the stock of low-cost housing and to do it in a way that didn't take precious resources away from existing affordable housing programs.
And as planning nerds, we went straight to the GIS lab, where we found that there are over 54 million spare bedrooms that are sitting vacant every night. Many of those rooms, not surprisingly, are in the homes of empty nesters and older adults, and in urban areas. In New York City alone, there are more than 177,000 rooms in the homes of baby boomers. And just like the rest of the country, this over 65 population is skyrocketing. In New York City, it's growing 3 times faster than the below 65 population. By 2035, 1 out of 3 households in the United States will be headed by someone over the age of 65, and 48% are projected to be living alone. According to AARP, 90% of people want to age in their homes and age in their communities. And yet, only 4% of our housing stock is prepared to meet the basic needs of our aging population. With fixed and limited incomes, longer lives, difficulty with some basic household tasks, as well as social isolation, it's becoming harder and harder for people as they age to stay in their current homes.
Now, we know that this is not going to be a solution for everybody, right? Some people want to live alone, and that's great. But Noelle and I were struck by the incredible implications of social isolation. A slew of studies have come out recently demonstrating deeply negative effects of living alone on health, overall well-being, premature institutionalization, and unfortunately, ultimately mortality. Yeah, that was a downer, right? So, we're gonna keep going. Unfortunately, it's not just on the older household side that we're experiencing this. As a society, we're more isolated today than ever before. In 1980, 20% of adults reported feeling lonely on a regular basis. Today, that number has doubled to 40%. And we're seeing those stats reflected in our housing stock. As Ingrid mentioned, a lot of people are living alone. More, in fact, than at any point over the last century. In 1900, 1 in every 20 households was occupied by a single person. Today, it's 1 in 4.
So that's why we're really looking back in urban history to bring a new solution forward. It was very common throughout American history for urban newcomers to live in the homes of older couples and widows. In fact, scholars estimate that in the late 19th century, as many as half of all urban dwellers resided as boarders or hosts of boarders. Oh, well.
Guys.
So what Nesterly is doing is really taking this age-old concept of intergenerational home sharing and bringing it into the digital age. While there are companies that offer on-demand tasking, like TaskRabbit, and companies that offer short-term vacation housing, at Nesterly, we're seamlessly combining these two now widely proven models to bring something unique to the market, which is medium-term home sharing, where guests can help around the house in exchange for lower rent. And as our next slide would say, unlike many other sharing economy companies, Nesterly is actually having cities on our side from day one. That's because we're unambiguously making the city a better place. We're creating much needed urban housing at no cost to the public, while also enabling greater neighborhood stability and social connection.
And that's why, within just 2 weeks of graduating this June, we'd signed a formal partnership with the city of Boston. As you can see from this beautiful picture of Mayor Marty Walsh in Boston, just this month, he announced our initial success in his biggest speech of the year. Next slide. Anyway, so the reason that he did that is because the results of our initial pilot have honestly been astounding, even more so than we ever expected. Over the summer, in just a few weeks, we received more than 80 applications to join our inaugural cohort. The first 8 Nesterly matches moved in last month, and they are delighted with their new home sharing arrangements. I desperately wish that you could see Brenda and Phoebus, who are 2 of our matches, because they just adore each other, and it's been wonderful, and it's a really great photo. But Brenda has lived in Roxbury for her entire life. She lives in the home that has been in her family since 1946. Phoebus is a visiting PhD student at MIT in the architecture department, and Brenda has already driven him around the neighborhood, showing him all of the architectural details, and Phoebus is cooking her Greek dinner. It's a beautiful thing.
So we started out as MIT master's students, really passionate about real estate and affordable housing. And now we're standing here today, and we firmly believe that the issue of how we leverage the existing housing stock and how we ensure that people are able to age in their homes and in their communities is one of the most important issues facing our generation. So please go to nesterly.io to learn more about us and join our movement. Thank you.